Hey guys, it's MMA Vulture coming at you live with UFC Vegas 100 recap. Magny versus Prates. Man, this was a great fucking card. There was so many fucking finishes on this card. It was absolutely insane. So let's go ahead and jump right into this week's cards with the first bout being Melissa Mullins versus Klaudia Sygula. And this one was exactly how I thought it was going to happen. It was Melissa Mullins looking dominant the entire fight. I mean, Klaudia did have moments in the beginning. I feel as though Klaudia found her range really early in this fight, was starting to find success in the striking until Melissa Mullins found her range and started striking back. Then you saw some success from Melissa Mullins. And not only that, she did exactly what I thought she would do, which is use that grappling ability of hers. Found success in taking down Klaudia Sygula, started garnering some control time, started maintaining control of her, started advancing positions. She looked dominant in that at the middle to end of first round. She started showing that she had the clear-cut grappling advantage, and you could see it. Then come second round, she did exactly what she was supposed to do and used that clear-cut grappling advantage and took down Klaudia Sygula, maintained control of her for the better half of the second round, started landing some nice ground and pound, ended up flattening Klaudia Sygula out on her stomach and started going to fucking town with these ground and pounds and ended up getting stopped by the ref, in which Melissa Mullins got the technical knockout over Klaudia Sygula by ground and pound, absolutely fucking hammering away. And I did choose for this fight. I did have it going over 2.5. That was one of my confident picks, but it did not go over 2.5. Melissa Mullins, absolute fucking dog, found a way, even though missed weight, found a way to win and beat Klaudia Sygula in dominant fashion, getting the technical knockout over Klaudia Sygula via ground and pound. And let's go ahead and run it up to the next fight on this card, in which was another fucking finish. Like I said, this card is full of finishes. Tresean Gore getting the submission finish on Antonio Trocoli, because Antonio Trocoli, they had a couple of striking exchanges, but mainly it was Antonio Trocoli actually trying to go for the takedown on Tresean Gore, leaving his neck wide open and actually doubling down and trying to go even further in on the takedown, in which Tresean Gore just fucking locks up that neck, starts yanking on that bitch, and gets the standing guillotine choke on Antonio Trocoli, who is a fucking bum. I mean, I had Tresean Gore to win, and he did exactly that. I thought he was going to knock out Antonio Trocoli because I thought Trocoli was a little bit awkward and clunky on the feet. But it turns out he fucking submits him because Antonio Trocoli's dumb, leaves his neck right in the arms of Tresean Gore and gets it locked up and submitted via guillotine choke. Great fucking job by Tresean Gore. I had him to win, and he did it in dominant fashion. And let's go ahead and run it up to the next fight on this prelim, in Cody Stamann versus Blackshear. And Cody Stamann actually in this fight in the beginning had some moments striking-wise. He was looking good on the feet, but then Blackshear finding his range. Obviously, Blackshear has a huge reach and height advantage, if you guys do remember. So as soon as Blackshear started finding his range, you could see the tide start flipping, and Blackshear start picking apart Cody Stamann, and then they started having some grappling exchanges to where Blackshear actually had a guillotine, and it looked like he was actually going to submit Cody Stamann via guillotine. He had that bitch in tight, and you could see it was definitely tight, as you could see from Cody Stamann's face. Jesus, I was trying to say. But after a little bit of work, Cody Stamann gets out of that guillotine choke. Blackshear, in the mix of the exchanges as Cody Stamann scrambling, finds the back of Cody Stamann, ends up locking up a rear naked choke and fucking squeezing the shit out of it, in which he got the rear naked choke on Cody Stamann, put him out, and looked dominant in this fight. There was moments for Cody Stamann earlier in this fight, but it was all Blackshear finding his range, finding the striking, picking apart Cody Stamann, using his grappling as well, finding success in the grappling area, and getting the submission finish on Cody Stamann. Let's fucking go. Another one for us in Blackshear. And let's run it up to the next fight in Matthew Semelsberger versus Charles Radtke. And I am fucking pissed, man. I am pissed on this one. Because like I said, if you guys watch my previous videos, I was back and forth hardcore between Charles Radtke, decision, and knockout. And I don't know why I fucking chose decision. I do know why I chose it. It's because Matthew Semelsberger has been up against knockout artists and has survived and has made it to decision. Yes, he got knocked out by Euros Medic, but went to decision with Preston Parsons, went to decision with Jeremiah Wells, who does have knockout power. So I thought maybe he would be able to survive. Fuck no. Absolutely not. Charles Radtke takes this to where he has the ultimate advantage, puts Matthew Semelsberger up against the fence. Well, it wasn't even him putting him up against the fence. It kind of was because he was walking down Matthew Semelsberger, just not giving him any respect. And Matthew Semelsberger ends up kind of going into the cage himself, in which Charles Radtke has him up against the fence, has him directly in his sights, and starts hammering away with these deadly fucking hooks. If you guys remember, I told you guys he has nasty, nasty hooks, has nasty power, and lands a nasty left hook on Matthew Semelsberger, rocking him, knocking him out, and just follows it up. Man, Charles Radtke looked absolutely phenomenal, man. They had to call it because Charles Radtke fucking landed a nice left, a right, started hammering away at him, and they just had to call it because Matthew Semelsberger's lights were basically out, man. He was standing up, but, dude, he was donezo. I mean, he wasn't really fighting. He was surviving, to say the least. I mean, dude, there was nothing Matthew Semelsberger was going to be able to do. He is not UFC caliber. He is not UFC material. He is getting sent to the regional scene after this knockout loss to Charles Radtke. Believe me, he is out of the fucking UFC. There's no fucking way he is in the UFC still. Charles Radtke came out, did exactly what I thought he was going to do. Yes, he got the win by knockout. I did think it was going to go decision, but again, he looked absolutely phenomenal striking-wise. Dangerous, dangerous hooks. Yes, man, this was a great fucking fight in which Charles Radtke got the knockout over Matthew Semelsberger in dominant fashion. And let's go ahead and throw it to the next fight in Zaleski versus Zach Scroggin. And, I mean, dude, what is there to say this one? First things first, let's give our props to Zach Scroggin. He not only took this on short notice, he is going up against a decorated veteran in this UFC. He's not going up against some bum. No, he's going up against a well-rounded fighter in Elizeu Zaleski. Zaleski is a very good striker. Not only that, he's a very good grappler. So he's a well-rounded fighter in every single aspect of the fights. Then you have Zach Scroggin over here, who's facing some bums that are 9-17, 5-14, like with some shitty records and just not UFC caliber, not UFC material. Zach Scroggin, though I do give him credit for stepping in the ring on short notice, didn't make weight, but again, very, very last second short notice fight. Give him props for even getting in that fucking ring against somebody like Zaleski with the amount of experience that he has and still not being scared. Yes, he did get knocked out. I mean, it's a recipe for disaster the way that he came into this. Short notice, missed weight. His resume is against a bunch of bums, nobody that really shines. I mean, like I said, 4-17, 5-17, 9-17. I mean, they're shitty records. So obviously, he's not UFC material. He hasn't been up against the best competition. He needs to work on that. But either way, I give him full props for taking this short notice and even stepping in the ring. Now let's jump to Zaleski, who was absolutely fucking phenomenal and dominant. I mean, he looked fucking great in this fight, tagging Zach Scroggin, knocking him out, and looking dominant doing so. I mean, Zaleski, what is there not to say about him? I really wish the fight between him and Nicolas Dalby actually happens again. I really want to see the rematch between those two. If you guys rewatch the video that I said, I believe that fight would be absolute fucking fireworks. Like, I gotta see that fight. I think him and Nicolas Dalby would absolutely go to work for those 3 rounds, and it would be an amazing fucking fight. So that is definitely a fight I want to see. But let's go back to this fight in which he put on an absolutely dominant performance. Walked down Zach Scroggin, was landing at will, landed that power shot, knocked Zach Scroggin out, and looked dominant in doing so. Got the knockout finish over Zach Scroggin. And let's run it up to the next fight in our featured prelim of the night in Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Denise Gomes. And in this fight, I had Denise Gomes. I thought that she was going to knock out Karolina, to be completely honest, because she was the more explosive, quicker fighter. And that's exactly what I saw here in this fight. Denise Gomes looking like the better fighter in the first round, being slicker, landing the more damaging shots. She actually rocked Karolina in that first round and looked good, man. I thought she was actually going to put the lights out on Karolina because she had moments in the first round where she rocked her. Beginning of the second round, rocked her in the start of the second round. Third round, rocked her a couple times in that third round. Denise Gomes has some legit power, man. But Karolina has a steel fucking chin. Because I thought a couple times that she was going to get knocked out, but no. She wasn't even phased. Denise Gomes has that knockout power, but Karolina's got that fucking steel chin, man. She looked great out there. Karolina had some moments in the second, but mainly the third round I feel like is where she kind of shined. I feel like Karolina's striking started to look a lot better in that third round. I feel like Denise Gomes started slowing down in that third round, actually. It kind of evened the striking playing field. Denise Gomes still had nice striking in that third round. I mean, it was almost even though you could see Denise Gomes was slowing down. It was almost even in terms of striking-wise. So, I mean, Denise Gomes was the all-around better fighter, striking and grappling-wise. I think that she also garnered a lot of control time on Karolina, and Karolina didn't really know what to do, to be completely honest. This was a case where power was kind of the key in this, to be completely honest, because every single time Denise Gomes was striking, you could see it was definitely hurting Karolina. She was backing up. She was definitely scared, and she could not gain the respect from Denise Gomes. Gomes was just consistently walking her down, consistently landing. As soon as Gomes started exploding forward, you could see her land some devastating shots on Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and she looked phenomenal in doing so. Denise Gomes was the all-around better fighter, was the more dominant fighter. You could see her power was definitely affecting Karolina a lot more, and she was overall the better fighter, and she got the unanimous decision 30-27 over Karolina Kowalkiewicz. And she looked good, man. I really thought that she was going to end this early because she's so explosive and powerful, but no, Karolina with the steel chin. And let's run it up to the main card opener in Meerschaert Abdul-Malik versus Dusko Todorovic. And this was a very, very interesting one, again, in another fucking finish on this card. I mean, this card is delivering left and fucking right on this card. Or finishes are getting delivered left and right on this card. Fucking insane. We have Meerschaert Abdul-Malik versus Dusko Todorovic, in which Meerschaert Abdul-Malik actually, in the beginning half of this first round, lands a nasty, brutal fucking strike that puts Dusko Todorovic down, and Meerschaert Abdul-Malik starts fucking landing some devastating ground and pound. Absolutely devastating ground and pound. Starts whamming at Dusko Todorovic. And Dusko Todorovic actually has the knee. It could actually lock up a knee bar, but ends up not being able to. I mean, he's too disoriented, too rocked to even know what the fuck is going on. He's just trying to survive. He's in survival mode. He tried as hard as he could. He was trying to lock in that leg. Eventually, Dusko Todorovic does a good job of recovering, makes it back to his feet. But again, Meerschaert Abdul-Malik ends up landing a nice, devastating shot that puts Dusko Todorovic down on the ground, starts landing some nice, devastating ground and pound, and the fight gets called off. In dominant fashion, Meerschaert Abdul-Malik knocks out, gets the technical knockout over Dusko Todorovic, in which I knew was going to happen. I mean, I told you guys this. Dusko Todorovic is really fucking inconsistent. He is gets a knockout, gets knocked out, gets a knockout, gets knocked out. So he's super chinny. We knew here that he was going to lose against Meerschaert Abdul-Malik. I mean, Meerschaert Abdul-Malik is a lot better of a fighter, a lot slicker, a lot more technical, has the grappling to go back on if he was getting tagged up in the striking. And we saw it here. He was the better striker. He landed the knockout shot. He landed some nice ground and pound and eventually got the fight to be stopped by the ref and got the technical knockout over Dusko Todorovic in dominant fucking fashion. And let's go ahead and move it to the next fight on the main card in Luana Pinheiro versus Gillian Robertson. And this one was interesting because I feel as though Gillian Robertson really was put to the test here. She thought it was going to be a lot easier than it was, and it was a very hard-fought battle between these two. Gillian Robertson in that first round did shine. I feel as though striking-wise it was very close, but I feel as though Gillian Robertson kind of shined a little bit more striking-wise, started landing a little bit more, actually landed a takedown at the end of the first round, started garnering a little bit of control time at the end, and looked good in doing so. I feel as though she stole that round. I feel that Gillian Robertson definitely took that first round. I feel as though second round was a obvious Luana Pinheiro round. I mean, she was doing a fantastic job of sticking and poking. She was tagging up Gillian Robertson, backing up, tagging up Gillian Robertson, backing up before Gillian Robertson could really hit her. She was doing a phenomenal job. Luana Pinheiro has underrated footwork. Her footwork is absolutely fucking phenomenal, dude. Insane footwork. She's got good striking to go along with it. She's doing a good job of maintaining distance, keeping Gillian Robertson at bay in that second round, even finding some control time herself, very little obviously, but it still looked really good. She was doing a good job of mixing up her shots to the body and to the head as well in that second round. But then come third round, obviously it's 1-1 between these two. Whoever takes this third round wins the fight. Gillian Robertson does exactly what she should have been doing this entire round, or this entire fight, which is go to that grappling. And she found the takedown on Luana Pinheiro early in that third round, ended up garnering a shit ton of control time in that third round, keeping Luana Pinheiro down, landing some nice ground and pound from top position. She was doing a phenomenal job in terms of grappling and in terms of maintaining control of Luana Pinheiro in that third round. She kind of locked it up, showed that she was the better fighter. She came out that third round, came out hungry, got the takedown, maintained control of Luana Pinheiro for the better half of that third round. Eventually, when they got up, there was a little bit of striking exchanges in which Luana Pinheiro actually ended up on the bottom, attempting a submission on Gillian Robertson, but way too late, and Gillian Robertson looked a lot better than Luana Pinheiro in this fight. First and third round, I think, was clearly a Gillian Robertson round. I think Luana Pinheiro, if she did what she did in that second round the entire fight, I think that she would have walked away with the W, to be completely honest. I think she has phenomenal takedown defense. As we see, Gillian Robertson struggled many times to get her down, and striking-wise, she was looking like the better striker in that second round. But again, Gillian Robertson with that heavy pressure fight style was just too much for Luana Pinheiro and ended up taking the unanimous decision 29-28. And I agree. I think that Gillian Robertson did what she had to do and found the W over Luana Pinheiro. And I was on the Gillian Robertson side. I thought she was going to get it done by a sub, but gets it done by a decision. And let's move along to what was a great fight between Gaston Bolanos and Cortavius Romeus, in the sense that I was absolutely fucking wrong. What the hell was I thinking on this Cortavius Romeus side? I thought Gaston Bolanos was a little bit overrated in his kickboxing, to be completely honest. I thought Cortavius Romeus was going to be able to enter and exit the pocket with ease, kind of pick him apart, kind of be the quicker fighter, more explosive fighter. Boy, was I fucking wrong. I was absolutely wrong. Gaston Bolanos looked like the slicker, more technical fighter. He also looked like he had the speed advantage, which is very shocking to me, to say the least, because I thought Cortavius was going to be a lot quicker, a lot more explosive. But no, actually it was Gaston Bolanos being the quicker, more explosive fighter. Cortavius Romeus actually did have some moments in the grappling, taking down Gaston Bolanos dominantly, picking him up in the air, taking him down, garnering some control time. But as he was taking him down and controlling him, he wasn't really landing any shots at all. It was just mainly garnering that control time, kind of just keeping him down, making sure he can't strike with him. That's really what it was for the Cortavius Romeus side, in which it was kind of disappointing, to say the least, but Gaston Bolanos looked really good. He was outstriking Cortavius Romeus. He was mixing in those body kicks, those head kicks. I mean, he was mixing it up everywhere. Calf kicks, he was just mixing it up very, very well to the head and to the body. Looked dominant doing so. He was in and out of the pocket with ease against Cortavius Romeus, which I thought wasn't going to be the case, but was the case. He even found some success of his own in the grappling department, finding some takedowns on Cortavius Romeus, garnering some control time on Cortavius Romeus, and just looking like the more dominant fighter on the feet and in the grappling department, which really shocked me, man. Really, really shocked me. I thought he kind of lacked in the grappling department, but no. He did a good job of snubbing a couple of Cortavius Romeus' takedowns and even gathering some takedowns of his own, gathering the control time of his own, and looking dominant in every sense of this fight, getting the 30-27 unanimous decision over Cortavius Romeus. Gaston Bolanos is legit, the real deal. I was wrong on this fight. I picked Cortavius, and that was my only wrong choice on this card as of so far. So let's go ahead and run it up to the next fight in our co-main event of the evening. In Gerald Meerschaert versus Reinier de Rijder. And in this one was very, very interesting to say the least, because in the first couple of rounds, I feel as though Gerald Meerschaert actually was looking like the slicker fighter on the feet. I feel as though Reinier de Rijder was kind of having trouble in the first 2 rounds finding his striking. Yes, Reinier de Rijder did find the knockdown later in that first round, but he was struggling to find his striking. I feel as though Gerald Meerschaert was a little bit better in the striking-wise, kind of picking him apart, overwhelming him. But Reinier de Rijder had moments, obviously, in the takedowns, taking Gerald Meerschaert down, garnering a little bit of control time, maintaining control of him, advancing position. And Gerald Meerschaert tried to take down Reinier de Rijder a couple times himself, but was getting snubbed by Reinier de Rijder. I knew Reinier de Rijder was a little bit better in the grappling area than Gerald Meerschaert. Where I didn't see was Gerald Meerschaert actually being a little bit better in the striking than Reinier de Rijder. Though Reinier de Rijder started finding his range, which is when everything started to shift. You can see Reinier de Rijder start finding his striking. After that knockdown, he got confidence from that knockdown, was taking down Gerald Meerschaert, was peppering him with shots, was landing some nice takedowns, was garnering that control time, was looking phenomenal. After that knockdown, Reinier de Rijder really turned it up, really started to look a lot better, started gaining that confidence, and started just looking like a completely different fighter, to be completely honest. In the second round, you could see Gerald Meerschaert was landing, but it was still Reinier de Rijder being the better fighter, was maintaining control of Gerald Meerschaert. Then in the third round, it was more grappling exchanges in which Reinier de Rijder is on top of Gerald Meerschaert, ends up finding the neck and arm of Gerald Meerschaert, ends up locking up the arm triangle and finding the finish on Gerald Meerschaert via submission, which is absolutely fucking crazy to say because so many people are like, no, Gerald Meerschaert's going to be Reinier de Rijder. And how are you going to say Reinier de Rijder is going to beat Gerald Meerschaert in his own game in the grappling sense, in the submission sense? And I was fucking right. I mean, Reinier de Rijder is legit, man. He has really good grappling skills. I feel as though striking-wise, he's a good striker. Don't get me wrong. He's got that knockout power. I feel as though he lacks a little bit in that striking-wise, though. Feel that he's more of a grappler, and we saw that here, in which he submitted Gerald Meerschaert in dominant fashion. He was looking like the better grappler the entire fight. Anytime Gerald Meerschaert tried to scramble, you could see Reinier de Rijder meet him exactly where Gerald Meerschaert was trying to scramble to. He's trying to scramble out to the outside. Reinier de Rijder would be right there on the outside, smothering him and making sure he doesn't get up, make sure he doesn't feel comfortable at all, and just make him uncomfortable, overwhelm him, pick him apart, found that knockdown, gathered that confidence after that knockdown, ended up taking some grappling exchanges against Gerald Meerschaert, finding success in those grappling exchanges, finding the arm triangle on Gerald Meerschaert, locking it up, and getting the dominant finish over Gerald Meerschaert, the veteran in the UFC. Reinier de Rijder is legit, man. He really is. He looked really good, and he got the submission finish over Gerald Meerschaert, and then called to fight in next week's card in Madison Square Garden, which is absolutely fucking insane. There's no way he's going to be fighting there, but if he does, that would be insane of a turnaround. A 1 week turnaround would be absolutely crazy. But props to Reinier de Rijder coming into the UFC on his in his UFC debut against somebody as tricky as Gerald Meerschaert and beating him in his own game at that. Reinier de Rijder is legit. And let's go ahead and move along to the main event. And if you guys haven't, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And let's throw it to this main event in Magny versus Carlos Prates. And this first round was actually very, very interesting because Neil Magny had a great plan, to be completely honest. In the better half of this first round, it was Neil Magny using his grappling side of things to keep Carlos Prates fairly close to him. He was trying to go on. He was trying to take down Carlos Prates using single leg takedowns multiple times. Yes, Carlos Prates with great takedown defense was snubbing all of them and looking phenomenal doing so. But Neil Magny was doing great in the sense of keeping it very close to where Carlos Prates had trouble trying to strike. You know what I mean? He was keeping him very close, clinching up with him, and just trying not to gather that distance between him and Carlos Prates and let Carlos Prates be able to strike and land that sniper left hand. And Neil Magny was doing a great job of doing that for the better half of the first round. He was doing a great job of chain wrestling, keeping Carlos Prates close until eventually they got separated. Not really got separated, but they separated from each other. And now comes the striking exchanges where you could see Carlos Prates starting to land and his shots starting to affect Neil Magny. You could see the power difference in which they're starting to strike, and Carlos Prates lands this laser left hand. And in my eyes, it looks like it grazes the head of Neil Magny. But Neil Magny just falls straight to his fucking face. Straight to his face. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, what just happened? And then they re-show the clip, and it lands clear, flush on the temple of Neil Magny. A laser left hand from Carlos Prates puts Neil Magny flat out on his fucking face, in which many people were like, oh, did Neil Magny take a dive? Did Neil Magny take a dive? Hell no, he didn't take a dive. Carlos Prates has legit knockout power. He's super precise, and that's exactly what showed here. He landed that laser left hand on the temple of fucking Neil Magny and put his lights out. I mean, everybody saw this happening. Nobody really probably saw this happening in the first round, to be completely honest. Many people thought second or third round was probably going to be the call. But no, he gets it done in the first round. He ended up knocking him clean out. And he had a knockdown before that where, like I said, I mean, Carlos Prates was absolutely dogging him. As soon as that distance was there, you could see Carlos Prates was the all-around better striker. He had great takedown defense as well, snubbing a shit ton of Neil Magny's takedowns. Neil Magny did a great job of trying to chain wrestle and keep it in close. But eventually it got separated, and Carlos Prates was just too much for him and just knocked him the fuck out, and it was a funeral for Neil Magny. I feel bad. Neil Magny is a great fighter. I mean, he's a decorated journeyman, but he's still a great fighter that has been here for a while and consistently puts on great fights every single time. So props to Neil Magny. Great job by Carlos Prates in getting the knockout. And make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!